Here we have an assemblage of Roman pottery. At first glance it looks fairly nondescript, but I think if you look at it a little bit more closely, you can see that there are quite a range of different things going on here. We've got red pots like this. This is quite distinctive. We've got black pots like this, and we have pots that archaeologists call white, but most people would probably call beige. And these different kinds of pottery come from different places. So we know that the red pottery is called Samian, and it comes from Gaul, what is today mainly modern-day France. We know that the black pottery comes from southeast Dorset. So if we were to find this assemblage on Hadrian's Wall, and all of these pieces of pottery are typical of the kinds of things we might see in the frontier zone, if we were to find this assemblage, we would immediately know that the communities living along the wall were trading with places that were quite a long way away, Gaul, the south of England. And that's quite important. We might also look at this assemblage and think about the different kinds of vessels that are present. So it's very clear, for instance, that a vessel like this is a dish, or a vessel like this is a jar, like some of the examples I have here. And some of them are quite richly decorated as well. And here we have a little sherd, two sherds with a moulded figure of a hare on it. And we know that this is from what we call a hunt cup. So this is a large drinking vessel decorated with a scene that shows dogs chasing a hare. And you can see that on this reproduction. Here you've got the dogs, two rather fierce looking dogs with their open mouths. And here you've got the hare. There you can see his long ears. And if we put these two together, there you go. You can see the hare on both pieces. But it's clear that this vessel must have been used for drinking. And it's quite a tactile vessel, you can hold it very easily, but it's also very large. So this tells us something about what people were drinking. We can contrast this one, which is quite a large pot, with this one, which is rather smaller, a Samian cup. And there's the base of a real Samian cup. So presumably the people who were drinking out of this vessel were drinking something much smaller in volume than the people who were drinking out of this. And we might, for instance, suppose that this was used for consuming wine imported in barrels or amphorae, and this was perhaps used for drinking beer. And we know from other kinds of archaeological evidence, archaeobotanical, burnt seeds, and those sorts of things, that people were brewing in the Roman period. And we also have evidence from the frontier, from the Vindolanda tablets, that people were consuming quite large quantities of beer. So that tells us a bit about the kinds of beverages that people were drinking. Now, of course, pottery survives really well in the archaeological record, but we shouldn't forget that there are other kinds of materials that don't survive so well. And one of the chief amongst those, is glass. And here we've got glass vessels, very high status, also used for drinking wine, like the little pottery cups. And here we've got a glass flagon that you'd have poured the wine into the cup from. So when we look at this assemblage, at first glance, it looks like nondescript bits of broken pottery. And once you drill down into it, you can start to reconstruct the way people were leading their lives. You can start to think about the actual way people were eating and drinking. We've done that for beakers and cups. We've thought about the consumption of wine and beer, but we could do it for the jars and how people cooked. We could do it for the grinding vessels and how they prepared their meals. And we could think about the whole Roman influence on the way people were eating and drinking in Roman Britain.